retailers at the moment are in this type of boat, and it's sometimes a bit bigger, sometimes a bit smaller. We'll talk about that in a second, but they're all squeezed by two problems at the moment, right? We also saw that in the chat before. There is one, inflation from below. Basically, usually we all know the tide is rising, right? The water level is rising. But at the moment, it's a bit more rough. So it's less predictable when your purchase prices are actually going up. And at the same time, there's these supply chain disruptions coming from the top. So basically, you don't even know when your goods are gonna come in, and there are huge delays in the supply chain, which means that there is a much higher risk compared to before, that you will sell out on your products, or that you won't be able to reorder, or not at least not reorder fast enough. Yeah, so that's why these two problems are super relevant now. I think they were very important before, but they are even more relevant now, and I think it's going to stay that way in 2022. And I think the big question is, we said pricing is the lifeboat, and I think there's at least two choices. So one choice would be, if you have kind of the old school boat, which we see in the first line, I would call it a rule-based pricing approach. In this case, you already have your rules set up. So it could be, for example, a simple rule would be a margin, cost plus pricing. So you say, okay, I just put my cost, and then you get inflation. So let's say you get a 10% cost increase, you just put 10% on top of your prices and you're fine. This also automates your pricing. But the problem is this third step, the review of the impact. That often doesn't happen in this case. Yeah, so people don't take the time, and it's also quite difficult actually to review the impact of this simple rule application. And even if the rule become more complicated, it even becomes more complicated actually. Yeah. So let's say you are following the prices of some of your competitors, and then you have some minimum margin, and then on top you have some stock minimum level or something like that. That's all very nice. It will work. It will automate your pricing, but you don't know actually what you're doing, because the truth is you are just running this rule, and you don't know what's going to happen actually. And I think if we're just going back, that's probably not what you would try to do if you're in this boat, right? You would want to know what would happen, yeah, if you're going that direction or the other direction. If I'm going that way, is there a storm, or is it going to rain? Or should I go the other way, right? And that's why I think all retailers will switch to predictive pricing in the next 10 years for sure, not in 2022, but over the next years. And the difference of predictive pricing is basically you still can do exactly the same. You can set your rules. One difference is that you can also set your targets. So you can actually tell the tool what you want to achieve in terms of revenue and profit. But then there is this review impact step. It's already happening after the target setting and the rules. So basically, you can already know, okay, what is going to be my impact of what I'm trying to do here on my bottom line, on my top line. And only if you like that, you're going to upload. I think that's the big difference between these two approaches. And I think the second lifeboat is much more attractive because it's predictive. Yeah, you already know what's going to happen. And you're not surprised by the effect when you're uploading. And it's also quite fast in reacting on different needs in your organization. Yeah, so let's say somebody comes in and says, okay, there really is a big need of changing, of increasing sales, simply because you have a squeeze in terms of cash. Well, then you can just put in your target in this predictive pricing that you want to achieve more sales, and it's going to happen. And it automatically calculates all those prices on your 50 channels and for your 1 million products. If you have this rule-based approach, and then you need to change all of your rules in those channels and markets to get more sales, this is a lot more work. Yeah, so that's basically the difference. Yeah, so whereas this in predictive pricing, you're just changing a target. In rule-based pricing, you have to change a lot of rules actually to make changes to your strategy. So it's also less dynamic in a way. Yeah. To go a bit more into detail, to comparison those two boats. in both of them actually automating your pricing process. Yeah, so both of them can run automatically. Both of them can use competitor prices, so that's also solved by both of them. But for example, inventory-based pricing, and that is, I think, one of the topics that you need for supply chain problems, is not really done well in rule-based pricing, because if you want to know whether you're going to be in an inventory problem on a product, you need to have a prediction. And for that, you need predictive pricing. The second big topic is elasticity. I'm not sure how aware you are of this concept. So basically, elasticity measures the impact of price changes to your demand. And in rule-based pricing, it is barely used. Yeah, it's not used, at least not easily. Yeah. Predictive pricing, it's inherently used because the prediction is already making a prediction also on elasticity. And I will give you an example in a second where you see how important this can be. Then the third difference is the goal-driven strategy. Yeah, so you can actually have a specific revenue goal that you want to achieve. You cannot plug this into a rule-based pricing. It doesn't work. You need something predictive for it. And you also get a forecast, so there's less risk. Yeah, you will see that there's a huge impact of pricing on both top line and bottom line. So it's important to have a prediction actually that gives you confidence that what you are changing in your prices is the right thing to do. So let's jump a little bit more into detail. So what solves this reorder issue actually? How does it work? Yeah, so let's see here as an example. You have a seasonal product and you're buying it, let's say in the beginning of the year, and you want to be sold out at the end of the year. Ideally, the blue curve is your sell-through rate curve, right? You're starting at 0%, and then you sold all of your products at the end of the year. In many retailers, this is not what happens, yeah? So even at Zalando, I remember, we sometimes had the UK selling all of the nice sneakers from Adidas in like 1 week because they made a sale on them and then the stock was gone. And we were not able to reorder this product actually. Yeah, so there's often the situation that you are reacting with your prices because you think it's good, and it's actually leading to a lot of short-term profits. But the problem is that over the course of the entire season, you cannot reorder this product, and so you're losing out on profit. Yeah, so you discounted it, you were too cheap in this red situation. Versus in the yellow situation, let's say you have some flip-flops, and then you're trying to sell them. At the end of the year, you still have 50% of your flip-flops left. Well, then you have to keep them in your storage for another year until you can sell them again. Yeah, so that's the other situation. And both of these situations are not really great if you have a seasonal product and you want to achieve 100% sell-through. And in both of these cases, pricing can help because you can detect the overselling with predictive pricing and kind of automatically go up with the price to kind of bend this red line to the blue line. And the other cases, the yellow line can also be bent up by discounting automatically so that you increase your sales rate automatically, right? And for both of those, predictive pricing is very helpful because you make a prediction anyways, how much you will sell in the next weeks. So you know if you will be overselling or not. Yeah, that's how this is helpful. Elasticity-based pricing is basically the effect that, or measures the effect. I said it before that if you change your price, let's take this example here, where you change your price from 650 to 950. I think this is an aspirin as an example. Yeah, let's think of an aspirin. Then you have €3 more margin, right, in this blue case. But the big question is, how much volume do you lose on this product? And aspirin is actually a product where you don't lose that much volume. Yeah, so that is the big question. If you go these €3 up, the competitors are selling for 650. So if you're selling for 950 on your own website, for example, how much do you still sell? And in this case, you can see it here. This product isn't really so elastic. So you're losing out on sales, but more maybe 20, 30% because it's a product that typically people buy together when they have already made a decision to buy something. They say, okay, anyways, I have a basket open. I'm just going to also buy some aspirin. I will need it at some point. Yeah. So this is a typical product where you don't have to follow competition necessarily, where you can actually be much more expensive. And in all retailers, these products exist. And the big question is, how can you find them? So yes, you should be competitive on some products, but you cannot be the cheapest on all products. It's impossible. And you have to make sure you pick the right ones where you make a higher margin. And then there's other products where you're really competitively priced. And that's what also predictive pricing can do for you. It can kind of automatically detect the products which are elastic, where you should be cheap, and the ones where you should be more expensive. And this is not necessarily, that sounds complicated, but it can also in the end look like this. Yeah, so it doesn't have to be complicated. It can actually look like this curve. So in this curve, for example, you see this is a prediction for 2 weeks, and it predicts your revenue and profit for the next 2 weeks. And you can see that the green dot here is basically the prediction when you don't change anything. Yeah, so in this case, you make like 950,000 euros in turnover and 260,000 profit. And then the question is, how can you affect this if you change your prices? And as you've seen before, the impact can be quite dramatic. Yeah? So here you can see that you can also have 7% higher profit while even achieving the similar revenue. Or you could actually increase your revenue by 100,000 euros and have the same profit. So predictive pricing actually offers you the options that pricing gives you. And here you can actually steer this super easily with your shop target. Yeah, so just a shop revenue target, nothing else. So what I'm saying is that doesn't have to be complicated to use this. It can be actually much easier than the rule-based approach, because if you want to go from your current situation to 1.1 million euros revenue with a rule-based approach, you need to change all of your rules manually, right? There's in rule-based pricing, there is no revenue curve like this. And so basically you have to manually adjust all your rules, and that's going to be a very painful process actually. So maybe in short, what are the benefits and why is actually predictive pricing the lifeboat, or maybe also the better lifeboat compared to rule-based pricing? It achieves higher profit because it uses elasticity analysis, and also it can much better perform like logistics and supply chain analysis because it has a prediction. It predicts sales, so it can actually compare your stock with the predicted sales. Here there's target steering. Yeah, so you can actually know, okay, if I'm doing this, then this is going to happen. There's less work because you can see it's super easy. You can just basically even do it on your cell phone almost. Yeah. And there's a prediction included. Yeah. So basically, let's imagine ourselves back into that boat. You also get a prediction. You know what's going to happen. Yeah, what's going to happen in the next 2 weeks. And I think if you were really sitting in that boat, if you imagine yourself, let's go back. Yeah. I think you would want to have some security, right, in that situation. You would want to know what's going to happen in the next 2 weeks if you're on that boat. And I think that's why predictive pricing is the right answer. Yeah, thank you for your attention. I'm happy to answer your questions.